what are the things someone should look for that are going to actually tell them this is the right person that you should marry, this is the right person you should be looking to spend the rest of your life with?
That's a very good question. I think you summarized it very nicely. So I like to think of two things. I like to think of, number one, attraction or feeling emotion, feeling caring towards somebody. And the other one is values. I use the term values. You can use the term goals, whichever word you want to use. And to be able to figure that out, I think dating happens for some people when they know themselves very well. For other people, dating happens when they don't know themselves very well. Going through life, they're moving around, they're not really sure who they are. They may have what I call they may have formal goals. Formal goals they may know that they're religious. They may know that they want to become a doctor. I call those formal goals because they are very structured goals, structured values about themselves, which they know. But informal goals, informal values might be simple things, or they could be very important things, which they just don't know about themselves. How do they feel about global warming or something like that? Or religiously, where are they at? Or are they more kind? Or are they more withdrawn? Or are they more social? These are important issues for people to know about themselves when they date. So
would it make sense to maybe say that the distinction between them is, let's say, explicit goals and then like maybe subconscious goals?
Oh, yeah, I would use the word implicit, but they're not subconscious. And they're not subconscious because they're easily accessible when somebody thinks about them. So I like to use the word subconscious for things which people have really no access for. So what I tend to ask people is, first of all, do you know what your goals are? And I ask people to make a list. Make a list of what is valuable to you. And people don't know what's valuable to themselves. So sometimes, now when I say people, I mean some people. Some people are very clear what the values are. They know themselves quite well. Others don't. And so it's helpful before you go into date to have a certain sense of what's important to you and somehow to make a list. It's not very hard. It can be easier than it looks to make a list instead of thinking about what are my values. Put on a list of people, who are the kind of people you're attracted to, who are the kind of people you're not attracted to, who are your heroes, who are not your heroes, what do you like to do, what do you not like to do. Make a list of those things. You may find out, I like to read. That's very important to me. I like to go hiking. I like to sit and be alone. I like to talk to people. And then after you've made that list, usually come up with 20 items, go through them a second time and say, which one of these are absolute values? Which ones of these can I not live with? And you can come up with 3 or 4 values which are very important to you. And those are the ones that you want to focus on. If you're a religious person, obviously your religion is going to be important. If you're becoming a doctor, you're going to school, or education is important to you, that's going to be up there high on that list. That's probably going to be something, however much you like another person, if they cannot match you in that goal, it's not going to work out.
When you say match you in that goal, do you mean in terms of their interest in it, or in terms of the fact that they're prepared to accommodate, let's say, the study? Is it both?
Rabbi, you are asking an amazing, insightful question, because that's exactly true. I think a lot of people think it means that they have to have exactly the same values. And I don't think that's correct. There are certain values, raising children, the goals, the general outlook of where your family is going. You do need to have you want to have the same values. Are we going to live in England? Are we going to live in America? Are we going to live in Australia? If you have different values about that, it's probably not going to work out.
If they're not negotiable.
If they're not negotiable, that's correct. But if we're talking about people who've got values, I think the question isn't do we have exactly the same values? The question is, can I respect the other person's values? I believe one of the myths about dating and marriage is that we have to have the same values, and I don't think it's true. Like I said before, there are certain values which are needed, but I think people make a mistake about that. I think there's a lot of couples which I see which have very different values, but they respect each other's values. One of the myths is we need to parent exactly the same. It's not true. Parents, the research shows that parents parent very differently. One person can be calm, the other person can be very excited, one person can be thoughtful, the other person can be impulsive or quick. Those things don't matter as long as they can trust each other and they can respect each other and take influence from each other. So if I am one way and my partner is willing to respect my way of doing things when I'm doing them, that will work out.
So going back to the example of the doctor, if I'm understanding correctly, let's say the person, someone who for them and they're maybe in the process of already becoming a doctor, this is not something they're going to negotiate on. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to find someone who's interested in medicine, but they have to find someone who's going to be, let's say, able to accommodate or prepared to accommodate their pursuit of that career, because otherwise it's not going to be compatible practically.
Absolutely. Somebody's going to be compatible to that. Somebody's willing maybe to learn. Somebody's willing to hear about that.
Right.
And maybe not. Maybe that's another point. They don't even need to be willing to hear about that, but are willing for their husband or their wife to be in medicine and support that and accept that and make that part of their family. That's another issue that you bring up, which is, people have different interests. We sometimes have over expectations about dates and about marriage, that we are going to be best of friends and we're going to share all of our interests together. And I don't think that's true. I think people who get into marriage have to recognize that marriage can't be everything. Marriage cannot be my best friend, my hiking partner, my medical partner, and everything else. We're looking for somebody who overall is somebody who I can enjoy, can be with, I feel respected, and I can respect them and they can respect me. We can raise a family together. I love to hike. My wife doesn't like to hike. Surprised me very much, actually. She now loves to hike too. But the point is that even if she didn't, but she's got so many other strong skills, so many other strong values, which I appreciate. If I want to go hiking, I'll have to find another friend to go hiking with. And the notion that I'm going to find the one person who's going to be able to match me with everything is not a healthy one. I think people have to then recognize that what are your core values? What's the general direction you want to go to? What is something you like, something you would like to have, and something you must have in your relationship? If you can like somebody, if you can respect someone, if they have similar goals for the direction you want to go in, you're looking at somebody who can be a great partner with you, especially if they respect you and you can respect them.
Okay, so the way you worded that, right, a little earlier on you said that people think marriage has to be everything, right? And marriage isn't everything. It's not your friend. They don't have to be your best friend and your hiking partner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That then maybe leads into the question, what is marriage, right? It's not everything. So what is it? What's the role that what is marriage doing for a person? What is it providing for you? It doesn't have to provide your friendship. It doesn't have to provide your hobbies. It doesn't have to provide your recreation, etc. What is it there to do for you?
That's a very good question. And I think that's part of the question about your values. What are your values? What's interesting? What's important to you? That's number one. The second thing is, marriage used to be about loyalty. Two people who are loyal together, sticking together, having a family together, and creating a life with each other, life partners. It used to be based on loyalty. I am hoping that it's still based on loyalty today. But loyalty isn't the only thing. We've gone beyond loyalty today. We've gone to love and affection, wanting to feel cared for, wanting to feel important, wanting to feel special. I am the person who's special to the other person. The other person is special to me. This is what you find out when you go dating. Do I feel special? Do I feel good going out with this person? Does this person make me feel okay when I'm with them? And do I respect them? Can I like this person? Also, vulnerability is a very important thing. Vulnerability is allowing yourself to be honest and to be open and to grow with this other person. Do you feel safe with that person? Can you feel safe with them? Can they feel safe with you? I think is also a very important thing. And of course, if it's a traditional marriage, a traditional family, you want to raise children. Is this person going to be a good parent with me? Are we going to be able to make that happen? Do I respect them? It's a life partner. And a life partner is somebody you're going to come home to. You're going to feel safe, comfortable coming to this person. You're going to be safe growing together. taking influence from that person taking influence from you, and making space for each other.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by taking influence from each other?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people expect that they're going to find the person who's going to fit them perfectly, and so they don't have to make any change.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Exactly. I think the reality is, if you think you're not going to have to change your partner and you're going to find the perfect partner, and you found the perfect partner and you don't have to change, either you're dreaming or somebody's lying. That's not the case. I think the reality is we change. We take influence from each other. I'm willing to listen to what's important to the other person and make space for it. It may be something I never thought of in the past. When my wife says to me she wants to go to the mall with me, it's not something I'm interested in doing. By the way, it's not what my wife wants. But let's say,
I was just going to say, did she already know that, or is she finding that out now?
There you go. So, but the reality is, that's an example, or if my wife is interested in something I was never interested in, look, she's making space for me. She's learning about my life. She's learning about the things which are valuable to me. And in return, I do the same thing for her. I make space for these things in my world to be able to let her in and to be able to show my respect for her.
Right.
And so then in the beginning, it seems foreign to me. I have to practice, I have to learn. How do I make space for these things which to my spouse are important? Whether it's history, or whether it's hiking, or whether it's dancing, or whether it's something else. These things may not interest me at all, but I like this person and I respect this person. So I am going to do my best over time to open myself up to some of these things so I can share her life with me. She is going to open herself up to try and make space for those things in her life so that she can share my life with her. She's going to find out more about them. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. But if it doesn't, we'll make it work anyway. And we'll look for other people to do those specific things with them.
Okay, so you use the word, your choice of words, which is to take influence, right? That we could take influence from them, they can take influence from us. When you say take influence, I'm sort of getting the message that beyond just making space for the things that are important for each other, to me, it feels like it's indicating also hearing, let's say, with an intent to evolve and to change and to really take what they're saying on board and being influenced by each other. Would you say that's right?
Yes. I think that when people date, they can sometimes become enamored with the other person, and they can lose a sense of what's valuable, forget what's valuable to them by becoming so attracted and so excited about somebody else. And what might happen is they forget what are their core values, believing that I love this person, it's going to be okay. And the truth of the matter is, it's not necessarily okay. Person needs to know their own values, needs to know what they are, needs to feel that there's some space made for those values. And it can also be the other way around, which is often you've got one partner who's very assertive about themselves, maybe even forceful without even recognizing it. But it's important for them to learn that we all need to take influence from our spouses in certain areas, need to recognize that influence is important, being open to other people's ideas. And this is hard because as single people, we structure and create and develop our lives around ourselves.
Is it equally important for everyone? Is it like, are there some personalities that require more of their spouse, let's say, to take influence from them, and some people for whom it's not so important?
Yes, that is true, but ultimately it's important for everybody, because at some point in your relationship, you're going to need to take influence and you're going to want your spouse to take influence from you.
If you haven't yet, click on the subscribe button, then click on the notification bell to see future videos. And please, again, share the link wherever you share things on social media, Facebook, wherever it is, WhatsApp groups, WhatsApp status, to help this message reach more people. This has been the Bites of Judaism podcast. This podcast has been made possible by Mr. and Mrs. David and Malki Smetana. If you found it valuable, please leave a 5-star rating and a review. It really does help it reach more people. And tell your friends about it. If you haven't yet, you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms at rabbiglick.link/podcast. To dedicate a future episode of the podcast, send an email to podcast@rabbiglick.com. See you next time.